Hey, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to my latest YouTube video. As I promised from my last one, today I am going to be diving into my personal fantasy football strategy. This has kind of been my approach throughout my how many years of playing fantasy football, almost going on 20. I'm not trying to show my age right now, but with that being said, this is something I've developed over the years. I have made changes as the league changes and as fantasy football changes. Back when I started, it was standard leagues. Now it's like leagues are either half point PPR or PPR leagues. I cannot tell you probably the last time I was in a standard league. If you judge me for that, that's on you. But I pretty much, for me, I think the personal new standard of fantasy football is half point PPR. I understand the PPR leagues, but we might be rewarding the receptions too much for a whole point. With that being said, let me just go ahead and dive in today's video. What I'm going to do is basically I'm going to give you guys my 5 rules I typically follow every year, and then I'm gonna give you guys what I'm thinking for the quarterback position, running back position this year, wide receiver position, and tight end. Not necessarily, I'm not going to dive too much in players in this video, just kind of giving you guys my overall strategy and my personal approach to fantasy football, which, to be honest, everybody knows, the people that know me, usually I'm finding myself at least in the playoffs, if not in championship games every year, and if not winning championships. So the proof is in the pudding. So I hope you guys can learn to trust me throughout the season. So let's take a quick look at my 5 rules. Number 1, understand your league mates. Every fantasy football league is different. So if you're in a league with like people that are in the industry, they're going to be sharks. They're going to be on top of things. Players that you think that should go in round 1 are probably going to go in round 1. Players that you think should go in like round 10 are probably going to go in round 10. But when you get into your home leagues, work leagues, random leagues, it might be hard to get to know your league mates in random leagues, but you can understand. So, like, for example, I have a league where like we have like a couple Vikings fans, a couple Raiders fans throughout the years. So I know in those leagues, for example, Raiders players are going to go probably higher than their normal ADP. Same thing with Vikings players. If I want somebody off those teams, I have to understand that I'm probably going to need to pick that player before that person's up to draft. So it's the same thing for your league. If you know your friends really well, you know what their favorite team is, you got to understand they're probably going to pick the player from their favorite team. So if you want that player, you better be, if you got to reach on him, then go do it. That's gonna kind of relates to my 3rd rule in here. Second is prepare for chaos. Chaos always happens in these drafts, right? So it's kind of been a standard where most people understand, like, hey, you don't want to take a quarterback in round 1, but it's going to happen. There's going to be a Chiefs fan out there that drafts Patrick Mahomes in the 1st round. There's going to be maybe your casual football fan that saw what Josh Allen was last year, and he's going to be like, what the heck? Or he or she is going to be like, what the heck? I want Josh Allen on my team. I'm picking him right now. So there are going to be players that you want on your draft, and you've been doing so many mock drafts. You've done 50,000 mock drafts throughout the summer preparing for this one draft. And then there's going to be somebody in that draft that maybe didn't really pay attention but kind of knows the names. And you might be thinking, oh, I can get this player in round 4. I can wait this round. That player's not going to be there. Somebody's going to, that other person's going to select them. So when I say be prepared for chaos, that could happen literally the pick before you. So always have a backup plan. Usually I'm always like saying like this is the number 1 guy I want when I'm back up on the draft board. But I had to have 2 or 3 people behind him because you never know how the board's going to fall when it comes up to you to make your selection. Third, I kind of was pointing at it at the end of the rule number 1. My 3rd rule is you just draft with conviction. If you believe a certain player is going to have a great year, go get him. Just do it. It's if that's what you believe. I always say it's better to reach and be right and then wait. You miss him because you were trying to play maybe the ADP or the default draft rankings on your platform, and then you miss out on him and he has a big year. I created this rule for myself personally back in, if anybody's been watching my videos, everybody knows I'm a year 3 wide receiver guy. And when Mike Evans was entering his third season, which I believe he did end up finishing the wide receiver one in fantasy that year. I remember telling some of my league mates in one of my long-term leagues that I said, I don't care. Like I said it back in like April or May. I would have to confirm with my buddy Rance, but I remember telling him saying, I'm drafting Mike Evans in the first round. I don't care. I'm drafting him, and it worked for me. So I think you should draft with conviction, meaning if you like a player, just draft him in round two. Even if his ADP is in round three, you don't like any of the guys around that area, just get your guy. Get the guys that you want to leave the draft with, because at the end of the day, you want to be right. You don't want to try to play draft position. Maybe I can get him there at this spot. Just get your guys that you want on your roster. Number 4. So this is what I've always have done. I've always been a believer in balance. I mean, that's beyond fantasy football, just having a proper balance of things in life. And that's my approach to fantasy football. I want to have a core set of players for my starting lineup that in my mind, they're going to be in my starting lineup in not only in week 1, but all the way to ideally the championship game. These are guys that are going to carry me throughout the season because I don't have to worry about maybe finding a replacement for them on waivers or anything. Now, obviously, injuries do happen. You have to be ready for that. But most of the time, the reason why I believe I find myself in the playoffs in most of my leagues year in and year out is because I try to build a strong core, a strong high floor of players. So what does that mean to me? That means me getting a quarterback that I want to stick in there, and I don't have to remove him until it's a bye week. I like elite quarterbacks. I try to get at least one good strong running back. I like it with my first or second pick. Try to get 2 strong wide receivers, and now I'm starting to be on leaning towards getting an elite tight end. I'll dive into some of that stuff later. Final rule: I just fill out my bench with high ceiling players. So for me, keep with me all fantasy football season. Make sure you hit the subscribe button because I'm going to be doing a weekly waiver wire target article every year. I kind of am known for being very good with working the waivers. So I'm not trying to get safe players on my bench. I'm going all high ceiling players. And what that means is players that, it's going to be maybe a risk. Maybe it's going to take some time. Maybe they're rookies. Maybe they're in the backup situation. But as a player and as a talent, they offer such a high ceiling where if they're going to be presented the opportunity at any point, you're going to get a steal and you're going to have them on your bench ready to plug and play if injuries happen or if certain players aren't working out like you thought you had. So that's why I always start with the high floor with I try to get a strong 5 players that I think I can trust throughout the year. That my first 5 rounds, I'm usually specifically targeting those type of players. And then, rounds, 6 through 9, you're kind of just taking best available players. Maybe they do offer a high ceiling. And then when I get those double-digit rounds, it's all high ceiling for me. I'm not taking a safe pick. I'm going all high ceiling over safe picks in the later rounds. So again, my 5 rules: understand your league mates, prepare for chaos, draft with conviction, start with a high floor, a core set of players, and then just fill out the rest of your roster with guys that offer a high ceiling that you think could finish as like a top 12 player at his position group. All right, so now I'm gonna be going into my quarterbacks. Quick look into how I am approaching quarterbacks, and I did put together, as I promised to you guys, I did put together my final rankings heading into these drafts that everybody's gonna be doing over this next week and a half into the lead up, and these will be changing throughout the season, and you'll see them in my fantasy videos as well. But going ahead and taking a look at quarterback. My rule this year, I'm not going to reach for a quarterback, but I want an elite quarterback this year. What does that mean? So for me, reaching is probably the highest round I'll probably take a quarterback is maybe round 5 if the right guy is there. But ideally, I try to get my quarterback in round 6 because normally what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to go running back, wide receiver, vice versa, first 2 rounds. I'm going to talk about tight end. I'm going to be going strong after a certain tight end this year in most of my drafts, and I hope my league mates don't steal them from me after watching this video. And then, and then either another wide receiver or possibly another running back. I'm kind of okay with waiting on running backs because, like I said, I'm pretty good at searching the waivers and trying to predict the high ceiling running backs in the later rounds. But with that being said, so what do I mean by that? Like, yeah, if I'm sitting in round 5 and maybe like a Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, or Kyler Murray, maybe Joe. I think that's a little too early for Joe. If one of my top 5 quarterbacks are sitting in round 5, and there's not there's not like a running back, wide receiver, or tight end that I really want, then yeah, I'll take one of those guys. Now, if all 5 of those guys are off the board, I'm fine with waiting till like round 6 or 7 to try to grab Joe Burrow. Jalen Hurts will probably go higher than that. I don't see myself leaving with a lot of Jalen Hurts just because I think some other people are maybe going to draft him higher than where I want to draft him at. Now, every player is draftable, by the way. Like the $1 Million Man says, everybody's available at the right price. So I might have butchered that saying, by the way. Anyways, so that's going to be my strategy, right? I'm trying to get one of these elite guys at around round 5 or round 6. Now, sometimes it doesn't go your way. Like I said, you got to be prepared for chaos and try to understand your league mates. And I'm okay with waiting because my backup strategy for me is if I don't get one of those like top 5 to the top 5 guys, maybe 6. I like Joe Burrow a lot, so I'll say if I don't get one of those top 6 guys, I'm almost okay with playing the waiting game at that point and just take other top running backs and wide receivers until I get to my second strategy. So my backup strategy, which is something I actually I won a league off of last year, is drafting kind of a safe quarterback. When I say safe quarterback, I'm saying Kirk Cousins or Derek Carr. For example, last year, I drafted Kirk Cousins. He actually ended up being a very steady fantasy presence. He took me all the way to the championship, and then I replaced him with Trey Lance in the championship game, and Trey Lance went off in that one game. So that was my strategy last year. I was going with my idea was Kirk Cousins and Trey Lance. This year, it's Kirk Cousins or Derek Carr, and then I'm either going to team one of those guys up with like a Trevor Lawrence, a Tua Tagovailoa, or a Justin Fields. That's my backup strategy if I don't get the elite quarterback. Now, my running back strategy, which has basically kind of been, I've adjusted it with the PPR leagues. I used to try to go all running back heavy based in standard leagues, but now my thoughts is with running back, go grab an elite running back, ideally in round 1. But there's not really that many guys I think that are like you need to take in round 1. I mean, honestly, round 1 guys I would want to leave ideally my draft with at the running back position would be like Jonathan Taylor, Dalvin Cook, Christian McCaffrey, Austin Eckler, or Alvin Kamara. By the way, people that don't know, Alvin Kamara is likely not going to get suspended this year. His court date got pushed back, so to me, he's easily a round 1 pick. Now, there are other guys I like, depending on where I'm at in round 1, like a DeAndre Swift or a Najee Harris. But it's either probably the top 5 guys, and then if I don't get one of the top 5 guys, I'm probably going to go after an elite wide receiver like a Justin Jefferson if he's on the board. But the way I view it, though, with running backs, so your RB1 spot on your roster, right? I want at least a first or second round back to be that guy. Because that's one of my core players I was talking about. I'm trying to get at least a core running back. Now, I used to try to go running back early, but like, man, sometimes that second running back is either just doesn't work out, it gets hurt for whatever reason. So I'm kind of okay with waiting on my second running back. But if my rankings and the ADPs there and they line up, I'm okay with getting 2 running backs like in the second and third round. But my strategy is RB1, I'm trying to get like a first or second round guy. And then my RB2, I'm trying to go with somebody safe. Maybe they don't offer a high ceiling, at least like a placeholder. And then the rest of the draft, I'm trying to go high ceiling running backs, like rookie running backs, younger running backs in the first 3 years, handcuffs like an AJ Dillon, for example, like a guy like that. Maybe I get like an Etienne later, a Tony Pollard later in drafts, Ramondre Stevenson, Darrell Henderson, James Cook. Like James Cook, right? Like the Bills rookie running back. He's probably gonna split his reps at the beginning of the year, and then by the end of the year, I think he's gonna see more and more play because of his receiving ability. And if my feeling on that situation goes right, that's what I'm talking about as far as a high ceiling guy I'm trying to get on my bench. So again, my approach to running back, I'm trying to get a strong elite first or second round back for the RB1 spot. If I gotta wait on my RB2 until like rounds 4, 5, or 6, I'm cool with doing that. I'd rather go get I'd rather get 2 elite wide receivers or an elite tight end, and then get a safe running back in that like 5th or 6th round range, and then go all high ceiling running backs throughout the draft and just fill out my bench. Because ideally, You get the elite quarterback, you get the elite tight end. Those are two positions then you don't have to put on your bench, right? Then you can just go running back and wide receivers all throughout the draft, going high ceiling, high ceiling, high ceiling. That way you have players that could potentially be in that starting lineup if injuries happen or bye weeks or whatever the case may be. Now, speaking of wide receivers, like I mentioned, what I usually try to do is I try to grab two high floor wide receivers. So that means one wide receiver either in the first or second round, and typically either in the third or fourth round. I'm trying to grab that second wide receiver. Now I play in leagues that have three starting wide receivers. So my strategy, if you are in a league with three wide receivers in the roster, that third guy, try to go grab a PPR machine type of guy. The guy that's going to get peppered with a lot of targets. I end up being a kind of a guy I plucked off the waivers last year. Amon-Ra St. Brown, like he filled that spot nicely for me. In years past, it was Cooper Kupp when he was younger, but he's too elite for that position right now. I was just pulling up my wide receiver rankings while I was kind of giving some examples from last year, but like a Christian Kirk, I think could be a PPR machine. There in Jacksonville, another guy maybe like Chris Olave. I'm kind of liking him more and more as we get closer to the season. I think Jameis is going to target him quite a bit, and then it's depending on where you would get those guys. But yeah, usually I'm trying to get like a potential PPR machine type of guy at that third spot if your league does have the three wide receivers, and then just like running back. The rest of the draft, go high ceiling guys. Try to get guys that are rookie wide receivers like a Garrett Wilson, maybe that Chris Olave, for example. Treylon Burks, still take a chance on him. I know there's been a lot of negative publicity on him. I want to say publicity, but negative reports just because he's had a slow training camp for a rookie. But again, sometimes these rookies do got to take time. So I'm always looking to stash these guys because look at the way I view these when I'm saying high ceiling players, why I'm willing to take the risk. Because I trust myself where if those guys don't work out, they end up just kind of like not getting acclimated as a rookie. I can work the waivers and go find somebody that I can get on that bench just in case I need them. And then lastly, the tight end position. I'm this year. Like I said earlier, I'm searching for an elite tight end this year, and I'm gonna put him in there. I'm gonna forget it and set it because. I mean, my backup plan is if I don't, I'm just going to take a chance and go on find a sleeper. Maybe I'll stream tight ends. But I hate streaming tight ends. I hate, maybe these are guys like, Cole Kmet, a Pat Freiermuth, like a Dallas Goedert. Like, those are guys that are good tight ends. But, like, for whatever reason, if I get, like, the guys in the 5 to 10 range that I'm a fan of, it just never works out for me. I'd rather get the elite tight end because, for example, Pat Freiermuth was a tight end on one of my leagues that went on a deep run with. I can't remember if I won the championship with him or not, but he's a guy I found off the waivers last year. So again, I'd rather get the elite tight end I could trust, and then if I don't get one of these top 5 guys, I would say I'm probably gonna wait and try to grab a late round sleeper, and if it doesn't work out, play the waiver game. And what do I mean by top elite tight ends? Travis Kelce, Kyle Pitts, George Kittle, Mark Andrews, and Darren Waller. And I'm gonna go ahead and say this, guys. I want Kyle Pitts on my team. I'm shooting for Kyle Pitts ideally in round 4. Maybe I have to reach on him in round 3. I'm gonna have to kind of try to gauge my league mates over this next week or so. But yeah, I want Kyle. I feel like in my mocks I've been leaving with either Kyle Pitts or George Kittle in most of my mock drafts I've done this year. So that is my approach with tight end this year. I'm trying to grab one of those 5 elite tight ends early in the draft so I don't have to think about the position again, barring an injury. And then if I don't get one of those 5, I'm not trying to really draft a TJ Hawkinson or a Dallas Goedert in the middle rounds. I'd rather go grab running backs and wide receivers over a middle tight end and just take a chance on a late round sleeper and see if it works in my favor. And I mean, the late round sleepers to me, guys, going outside my top 10, I would say like a Mike Gesicki because he could get traded to a favorable situation. Maybe like a Hunter Henry was he was more touchdown based, but maybe like a Irv Smith Jr., Robert Tonyan. And this is a guy you probably don't have to draft, which I think you could end up plucking off the waivers that I think is going to have a strong year is Brevin Jordan, the tight end for the Texans. But I don't even think you need to really draft him unless you're playing in a super deep league. But yeah, that's my strategy going forward. As far as if you guys are looking for defenses or kickers, use your last two picks. Your second to last pick on a defense and your last pick on a kicker. If you want to know how I feel on both those positions, my two previous videos, I cover that. I cover the kickers in a video, my last one, and the one before that, I covered defenses. Go watch those videos so you can see how I feel about that. But yeah, save those position groups for the last one. But that's my strategy, guys. Again, if you guys enjoyed today's video, hit that like button. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, hit the subscribe button, and then go tell a friend to check me out. I'll be here all throughout the season. Just like last year. Every Tuesday night, I'll be releasing like a top waiver wire targets and streamable defenses for each week. On Wednesday nights or maybe Thursday mornings, depending on when I decide I probably will release it, maybe like a Thursday morning. You should be seeing my starts and sits for top two at every position for every week. And then other than that, the next time you guys will see me is I'm actually at some point this weekend, I'm going to do a little season prediction video like I did last year and get that out there for you guys. But best of luck to everybody and their drafts throughout this next week and a half. I hope I helped you guys prepare for the draft. If you have any questions, shoot me a DM, reply with a comment on here. If you got my number, just reach out to me. But other than that, I'm gonna get out of here. I hope you guys enjoy your night or day whenever you're watching this.